Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Clark and I'm super excited to share my presentation with all of you. So for my week 5, I chose to do the CSS navigation principles and design. And so this is just going to be going over navigation and stuff for websites. So first off, what is navigation? A navigation is a section of a page where there are other provided links to redirect you to other subpages within the website. So usually this is created by having kind of like a menu bar that will have options such as home, about us, contact us, just different links that will go to different parts of the page. And so you can create many different styles using CSS to make the navigation look more professional. Because with HTML, we can create the outline and kind of the basis of what we want for our navigation bar, but CSS is really going to make it look pretty in that sense. All right, so basic HTML code that I usually like to use for my navigation bars consists of the basic setup of showing the doc type, the HTML with the language, and then putting in the head with the title. And now where we get our vital information is in the body. So we do a UL, and that kind of creates that section for us. And then the LI will create the links. And so as you can see on the left-hand side, just a little example of what that brings up is the 4 options with the different links, and they have the bullet point beside them because they are in an unorganized list. So the difference between IDs and classes is something very important to note when you are using CSS. And so IDs are typically indicated by the hashtag sign, and typically they are used to identify only one element, whereas classes are indicated by using the period sign, and they usually are used to identify several elements within CSS. So if we go here, we have kind of a list of popular CSS tags on the right-hand side and kind of just what they would look like. So display is something that is super popular and used a lot, and this kind of just helps us place our material into either like a block or an inline block, an inline, or to have no display. The other one is anything to do really with width. So to do a max width would help you to make sure that you're not overstretching the stuff that is on your page. And you have different rules of measurement. You have PXEM, REM, percentage, and auto. The next one is using we have margin, we have our padding, and these kind of just like also help size things. When we use color, it usually refers to the color of text, which you can use examples as white or black or whatever colors. Background color is whatever is behind the text, and sometimes it can be in the block that you have set, or it might also be the background of your whole page, depending on where you're placing that CSS. So you can use different colors for that. Float also helps you to move around the information on your page. You can bring it to the left or the right. You can have no float. And then the other popular one is using different fonts. So you can do a font type of like italic, Arial, like 20px, to kind of just give you an example. On the left side, we see the selector is if we place a P in our CSS, then we are going to locate all the paragraphs that are on our HTML. And we use a bracket to open it, and then we use our property. So in this case, they used color, and then the property value, which is red, because you located what you want changed, and you want the color to be different, and then you gave it a certain color to work with. And so that's the whole declaration. Okay, so now that we kind of have established that, let's see. I'm just going to go through with a bit, like an example of how I made this different navigation. So I have the basic setup. As you can see, we'll quickly look over the HTML. So we have the doc type, the HTML, the head, the body. We have the UL, which kind of starts our section, and then the links. So we place the links in. And here I created a class because I also wanted to create a drop-down bar for our navigation, just so it looks more professional and it's a little bit easier to use. And that way it doesn't make our navigation bar too cluttered. So we're going to add that to one of the links. And then under that, we're doing another href, and this one's going to be the drop down. So we added a class to that by placing the button. I just used this as the keyword. And then I also did a divider, and I added a class to that as well with the 3 links that I want underneath the drop down button. We close that with a divide, another link, and then our UL. And then we end the rest with the HTML at the end. Okay, so I've already placed my CSS code here, so we're just going to kind of go over and see what each of them do. So the first one that I wanted to target is the UL. So as you can see, I got rid of the bullet points, I added a nice background color to it, and to get rid of the bullet points, we did the list type as none. I added a margin and padding of 0 just so that I know where it's at. Overflow is hidden, and then I added a nice background color to it. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to target is the link. So all the LIs with the lists. And you kind of see how that worked is we made it float left. So let's quickly look again. When we have it here, they're top to bottom. But for a navigation bar, I wouldn't want that. So when we do float left, then we're making them bring it to the top on the left side. So now here is where it kind of gets a little bit more tricky with their CSS, but we have the list, and then we also have the A, which is going to target all of the Ahrefs in our lists. And then I also added the button from my class that I created. So we're going to go ahead and check this out and see what this does. So now we see that the links kind of follow underneath the dropdown a bit better. The navigation bar is bigger, so it's not as thin. So we have the display as an inline block. We did the color black for the text. The text aligns center, so they're centered within their own little spaces. We have the padding, which just influences how far the color is for our background. And then the text decoration we just put as none. Okay, so now when we go over the links, I want them to hover. So I created something to help them hover. So we have the lists and hover. We did the background color as black and the color as white. So now when we go over our links, that is how they're going to display. Okay, now regarding our drop down, I want the display to be an inline block, and you won't really see a change with this, but this helps once these become into the drop down as an option. And so now we have our drop down content, which is the class I created. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. So now it placed them into dropdown, but now it's not letting me access it, which will access it with the CSS code kind of later on. So we put the display as none, the position absolute. You can also do like relative, but I want it to be absolute. I want it to be where I want it. We created a background color for the drop-down content, which I will show you once we kind of are able to access it, and then created a width for it so that it doesn't stretch too far. So now we're going to do the drop-down content, and we're using the A, which is going to the Ahref for all the links that we just placed into the drop-down. So now you still probably won't see it until I kind of finish dropping out the rest of it, because there's still a couple of bits of information that is needed. So, but we put the padding, the text decoration, display, and the text align. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get rid of these two extra ones. So we have the drop-down content with the A, so the hover, and then the display. So now when we go through, now we have our links underneath the drop-down. So this kind of just helps make it look more professional. You can add in more things if you wanted to. For instance, like you can add in another thing into the HTML to show. I should have put about somewhere else instead of news, but this one will be news, and we'll finish that off. So we can add in more things to their navigation bar. And yeah, this is just basically something that I use for my navigation, using the different CSS codes. We kind of learned a little bit about what's popular, how to create the navigation bars, and how to kind of make them look a bit more pretty. So for instance, if we didn't like the background color of this, I'm still going to copy it because I like it, and we wanted to change it to like blue, then we could do that and it would change it to blue. But then we would probably want to change our text from black to white so it's easier to look at, but we'll keep our pink as that. And you can even change in here. So when we go down, let's see, our background color is this nice green, but if we didn't want the green, we could go ahead and change that to like a red. So when we place that as a red, there you go. And same thing, you probably would want to change the text color maybe to a white, so that you could read it better, but we'll leave that as the green. So I hope that this was helpful and insightful. Just a couple of things that I learned about this, and I found it very interesting to kind of realize how CSS really works, and like creating your own CSS folder instead of putting it directly into HTML, because I think it just makes it a lot easier when you put it into your own CSS file. So I hope this was helpful. If any of you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments after I post this onto our discussion board, and I will be happy to answer them. So thank you guys, and I'm super excited to be in class with all of you.